In 1970, fewer than 100 people attempted to thru-hike the Appalachian Trail a year. By the 2010s, that number skyrocketed to over 3,000 annually, with millions of others setting foot on it. Stretching over 2,200 miles across 14 states from Georgia to Maine, the AT transformed from a hidden hiking gym into an international hiking mecca. Many credit A Walk in the Woods, a fun story about the author's hiking mishaps, for catapulting the Appalachian Trail into stardom. For millions of readers, Bill Bryson's book has served as a gateway and introduction to the beloved Appalachian Trail. Others argue the book has brought unwanted crowds, turning the once quiet and pristine trail into a busy tourist destination. So how did one man's story impact one of America's most iconic trails so much? Bill Bryson is a best-selling author known for his travel and history books, where he combines humor, wit, and detailed research. His travel logs are popular for their self-deprecating humor and personal anecdotes, which makes them both accessible and highly relatable. Two examples of Bryson's travelogues are Notes from a Small Island, which offers an outsider's comical perspective on British culture, and In a Sunburned Country, which explores Australia and its sometimes dangerous landscapes with Bryson's awe and sense of humor. From 1995 to 2003, Bryson lived in Hanover, New Hampshire, a town on the Appalachian Trail. After living abroad for 2 decades, he wanted to reconnect with America's natural beauty and people. So in the spring of 1996, he set off with an old friend named Stephen Katz. 2 years later, in 1998, Bryson published A Walk in the Woods, Rediscovering America on the Appalachian Trail, which chronicled his 1996 journey. In addition to Bryson's wit and engaging writing style, one of the things that makes the book so compelling is the sheer lack of hiking experience either of the men had. Neither Bryson nor Katz were well prepared for the endeavor, and hit the trail as two unfit, middle-aged men.
No, it's not because I think you're too old, it's because you are too old.
The juxtaposition of a hard 6-month-long hiking trail through mud, mountains, and black bears, with these two unprepared and out-of-shape characters, led to a series of humorous, often bumbling misadventures, which is exactly what drew readers in, like how Bryson felt after a potential bear encounter. What on earth would I do if 4 bears came into my camp? Why, I would die, of course. Literally shit myself lifeless. Or how he describes his interaction with his hiking partner after observing Katz's oversized pack. It weighed at least 75 pounds. He saw my look of wonders. Snickers, he explained. Lots and lots of Snickers. Or how he described trying to hitchhike looking as dirty as they did. Okay, I'm positive we're never going to get picked up. I mean, look at us. He smelled his armpits with disgust. Jesus, I smell like Jeffrey Dahmer's refrigerator.
Bill, like many AT hikers, was woefully unprepared to do a long-distance hike on the Appalachian Trail.
In addition to exploring Appalachian Trail topics like this, GREENBELLY makes big meal bars packed with 650 calories and protein, fat, fiber, and carbs for big outdoor adventures. GREENBELLY meals have been called Rice Krispie treats on steroids and come in 5 flavors using all natural ingredients.
GREENBELLY meals, and these are these really delicious bars.
GREENBELLY.
GREENBELLY.
GREENBELLY meals.
GREENBELLY.
If you have an outdoor adventure coming up, check us out at greenbelly.com.
Rather majestically overweight and out of shape.
Their journey was far from a traditional thru hike. The 2 men didn't come close to completing the entire trail. The best estimates are that they completed around 10% of it. They gave up on the thru hiking dream around the Great Smokies National Park. After this, they did a number of shorter hikes along the trail, but never again attempted the full thru hike. However, in a way, this failure is what makes the book a success. Bryson's honesty about the difficulty of the trail and their decision to end their hike before finishing captured the reality of thru hiking. It also humbled and humanized them in a way that resonated with readers of all hiking abilities. A Walk in the Woods was Bryson's 9th book, but his first instant success.
First time I could remember laughing out loud so many times while reading a book.
The book became a bestseller, selling over 2 million copies worldwide. It was a New York Times bestseller for months after its release. The book was featured in Time magazine, National Geographic. The Washington Post described it as terribly funny, and CNN eventually rated it the funniest travel book ever. Its success and broad appeal introduced the AT to a much wider audience.
The Appalachian Trail Museum has a research library that contains 3,000 books, magazines, and so forth, and dedicated to the Appalachian Trail. And Bryson, is at the top of that list. It was a tremendous best-selling book, had tremendous crossover appeal.
Before A Walk in the Woods, the Appalachian Trail was largely only known by the hiking community. After the book was released, however, The AT saw a 61% increase in hikers in just 2 years. And the AT became popular not just for Americans, but for international travelers as well. This effect was dubbed the Bryson effect.
I cannot say how many people have told me that they read the book and that's what got their attention to the AT. So certainly it had a huge impact in terms of people's awareness of the Appalachian Trail.
While his lighthearted take on the AT was entertaining and increased awareness about the AT, many hikers, especially through hikers, or the small group of hikers that hike the entire Appalachian Trail, argued a walk in the woods was not authentic. After all, the most popular depiction of the trail was written by someone who only hiked a small section of it.
Bryson never understood what it was like to be a long-distance hiker, and that upset some serious hikers.
However, the book wasn't meant to be a full guide to through hiking the AT. It was simply Bryson's personal story of the events leading up to and during his time on the trail. After a few years of surging popularity, hiker numbers started to decline in the early 2000s. This hit a low point in 2007, with just 1,000 through hikers starting the trail versus 2,900 in the year 2000, 2 years after Bryson's book. Another development was about to change everything. Again.
That was when Robert Redford announced that he had purchased the movie rights to the book and was going to make it into a movie, and that alarmed us.
Robert Redford takes a walk in the woods.
In 2015, the film version of A Walk in the Woods was released. It starred iconic Robert Redford as Bill Bryson and Nick Nolte as Stephen Katz. Like the book, the film focuses on the humor of the journey rather than completing the trail. The film received mixed reviews from critics and was a minor box office success, grossing $36 million in ticket sales. However, once again, the AT was exposed to a much larger audience. Around the same time, another similar book explosion was happening in parallel. Wild was a book about Cheryl Strayed hiking the Pacific Crest Trail. The book was released in 2012 and has sold over 4 million copies. And 2 years later, it was made into an Oscar-winning film starring Reese Witherspoon. Long-distance hiking experienced its two largest pop culture events within a year of each other. Wild in 2014 and A Walk in the Woods in 2015. And the number of hikers on the AT again saw a dramatic increase.
After those two movies came out, there was a 41% increase in through hikers in Georgia over the next 2 years. In 2015, when that started, the annual through hiker numbers were 2,700, and then it went up to 3,800 2 years later.
For the second time, Bill Bryson's book impacted the AT in a big way. And this increase in the AT's popularity came with a new set of challenges. The rise in foot traffic led to concerns about environmental impacts, like trail erosion and littering. Camping was particularly problematic. Hawk Mountain, the first campsite north of Springer Mountain in Georgia, the starting point for through hikers, ballooned in size. A whopping 4 acres of land was impacted by the increase in hikers. The AT was experiencing serious growth pains, which detracted from the solitude and natural experience that made it so special. The Appalachian Trail Conservancy, the group responsible for maintaining the AT, responded by ramping up efforts to protect the trail.
One of the big things we did at Hawk Mountain to mitigate that 4 acres of impact was build a new campsite a little bit south of the shelter that had 30 side hill tent sites, and the impact area at the Hawk Mountain shelter has now been reduced to only about a half an acre.
The ATC monitored trail usage. They created a voluntary camping registration system and gave out through hiker hang tags.
We began an online through hiker and overnight camping registration system called AT Camp, and the main purpose of that was to show a chart in real time that would allow through hikers to see how many other people had registered for a given day so they could spread themselves out.
They also researched the best areas for new campsites, created educational videos about leave no trace practices, introduced a bear canister loaning program to help minimize human-bear encounters, and promoted a flip-flop strategy to help ease the strain on sections of the trail, particularly in Georgia and the southern states.
They've started a festival to get people to do what's called flip-flopping, not starting at one end or the other, but starting at some point along the trail, going in one direction, and then picking up the rest of the trail.
It's held in mid-March each year, and it's been successful in promoting flip-flop hiking, which now makes up for 15% of hikers. And has helped spread out the bubble of through hikers from a 4-week to an 8-week period. The ATC also began to use more volunteers to maintain and preserve the trail. Their duties include clearing fallen trees, addressing erosion issues, and monitoring ecosystems. They also maintain trail infrastructure like shelters, campsites, and toilets.
Each year, more than 6,000 people put in over 200,000 hours of volunteer time, and the AT has a tremendous impact to people not just in the US but around the world.
Many agree that a walk in the woods took the AT from something only known to the hiking community to becoming a household name. It is approachable and has been the gateway and inspiration for many generations of hikers wanting to experience the AT. Clearly, it experienced some growing pains, but the trail's growing popularity should be a good thing. Many would argue the Appalachian Trail is one of the country's best natural offerings, on par with other outdoor icons like the Grand Canyon and Yosemite. And the increased popularity of the trail has led to more donations, support from conservation efforts, and a greater appreciation of the outdoors. We are a small team that loves the outdoors. If you enjoyed this, we'd love a like and subscribe. Thanks to Larry Luxenberg, founder of the Appalachian Trail Museum, and Morgan Sommerville, Director of Visitor Use Management at the ATC, for their help making this video.